Hello, this is Jessica Pettit, and who do I have the privilege of interviewing today?
Hello, my name is Mallory Whitfield. I do things on stages sometimes for money. Wait, that sounded so. That might also be true.
But it depends how much money it is, right?
It's true.
Mallory, one, I'm really excited to have you. Two, as we have gotten to know each other and become friends, I think that you bring such an interesting kind of Venn diagram of diversity, equity, and inclusion work. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. I first want to start off with two open-ended questions that specifically, because of your experience, I cannot wait to see what your answers are. So are you ready?
Yeah.
First one is the concept of diversity dividend. So this usually shows up when people are like, what's the profit margin or the ROI on diversity stuff? So thinking about investment, action, and return, what does diversity dividend mean to you?
Yeah, so I was watching one of your earlier videos and thinking about this question. And the first thing when you asked the other person this that popped into my mind is, I'm a big fan of, are you familiar with Arlen Hamilton?
No, surprise. Yet another person you've introduced me.
So I've been working in this like tech startup marketing world for the last few years. And Arlen Hamilton is someone who, she started a venture capital firm a few years ago called Backstage Capital. And she is a Black queer woman and basically started this venture capital firm called Backstage Capital in order to invest in people like her, people that she saw that weren't getting investment from a lot of like Silicon Valley venture capitalists that were like just white dudes investing in white dudes. And she, I think like a year or so ago, was on the cover of Fortune magazine now. She ended up for a time living homeless. She was like hanging out in the San Francisco airport just to like have a place to sleep at night because she just started this thing from nothing, believing that there was so much money being left on the table basically because these people were starting these companies and not getting investment because it was people investing in only people who look like them and nobody was investing in these other groups of people. And now she's really proving, she's gotten a huge amount of press and she's proving the ROI in like literally investing money in people that were overlooked for a long time. I was reading another article recently. Nilofer Merchant wrote this article for Harvard Business Review recently about Ava DuVernay doing the same thing in Hollywood, right? Like Netflix, I see a lot more diverse representation in a lot of the Netflix shows, which really excites me. And there's so many places where there's these like blue oceans of people who for a really long time were overlooked by pop culture, by media, by business and everything. And it's like, I think the fact that now that we have the internet and everything is so much more open to us as far as like what else is out there, I think that there's this amazing opportunity for like, there's so much money to be made because there's all these different types of people that need to be served in different ways.
That's awesome. The other open-ended kind of idea that's been bumping around, which sometimes overlaps, sometimes doesn't, is asterisks, other duties assigned. So sometimes these are things assigned to you that you may or may not, usually not reap any kind of reward for. But other times they're things that you pick for yourself to either like build your own community or your own self-care. It seems to be both. So in your own work, not just your ideas, but like your actual work experience, how has other duties assigned showed up for you?
For me personally, I think I have this like, so the last 2 years I've picked like a word of the year, and one of those words has been community. And I really have found like a lot of points in my life, even as a little kid, like where I've wanted to sort of build community around certain issues that I'm passionate about. Like I remember in like fourth grade or something, getting really interested in environmentalism and starting like a club with younger kids in my neighborhood called like Clean, like Kids Love Earth and Nature, and wanting to like get everybody riled up about, you know, saving the planet and stuff. And even now, like I have these moments, I don't always have the time to execute them, but ideas of like wanting to start book clubs at the local library to have conversations around things that like we need sometimes safe spaces to have conversations around. I would love to be able in my own life to create more of that. And I've had moments where I've done little bits and pieces of that here and there with friends or at work or whatever. But that's one of those things that like doesn't always like directly pay me, but it pays my soul.
Yeah, totally true. Speaking of your soul, one of the Venn diagram areas where your work and my work kind of is similar is around the concepts of curiosity and compassion. But what I'm in just awe of is that to take curiosity and compassion and really provide a theatrical stage for that. Can you talk a little bit about your work and what you're doing in a DEI space that I really don't know anybody else who's doing it?
Yeah. So when I started wanting to shift into professional speaking, so I grew up doing a lot of theater when I was younger, and then kind of got away from it. And then when I got back into performing around the same time that I started speaking on behalf of a job about other topics, I got into it through doing drag performance. And so I'm really inspired by very theatrical things like drag queens, or I love like Carol Burnett and Lily Tomlin and all these like funny, classic funny ladies. And then I saw Eric Wall, the keynote performer, and was really inspired by the way in which he sort of used all these other artistic mediums that I hadn't seen other professional speakers doing before. And I was like, I want to do my version of that. Like, how do I combine all these things and make that possible? And over the last year, I've done a lot of work with Heroic Public Speaking, which is a training program for speakers, and developed what I'm calling like a one-person show. I basically ended up booking a venue for myself here in New Orleans to kind of give myself ultimate artistic freedom and a deadline to do the vision that I had in mind, not have to do it specifically for a corporate audience initially, but to do it really the way I envisioned it. Mm-hmm. And so I came up with this program that it has this, what I call a wheel of weird. So it's my 4-part sort of conceptual model, which is curiosity, compassion, authenticity, and allyship. And all of those 4 parts are really about embracing our own differences, embracing our weird, as I call it, as well as embracing the differences of other people, embracing their weird as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen the one woman show, I guess. And what I really like about it is that it's just enough of your own personal story to give you, for lack of better words, the credibility to share your story with me, because it connects your weird to my weird. Which ultimately I think is at the foundation of doing diversity, inclusion, equity-based work, is that you have to be responsible for yourself to be able to hold responsibility for someone else. So I just think that you're really onto something. And I usually don't like the word novel in this kind of context because it seems condescending and ageist and blah and stuff. But I hope we know each other well enough to know that this conversation isn't going anywhere, even though we kind of all are working towards our unemployment. But this novel approach that is entertaining and thought-provoking, that's, for lack of better words, showing just enough skin to encourage me that I can have this conversation too. I just really think, I think it's onto something, and I really appreciate you sharing that. So,
thank you.
Absolutely. Are you ready for my 2 favorite questions?
Sure.
All right, so favorite question number 1 is, what have you changed your mind about lately?
So one thing that actually kind of ties into some of the stuff that I talk about in the show is I used to like hate having feelings, sort of. Like I was very like I got a lot of my dad's sort of like, I'm closed off and I don't want to like feel things and be sad or whatever, even though I would like cry like a baby all the time. But I hated like even the idea of yoga. I was like, oh, like that's terrible. Like that just seems so slow and boring. And I hate like therapy. Like I don't need therapy. And then in the last like year or 2, I went through a lot of life changes. I went through a really big like unexpected career transition, and I went through a really big breakup from a long-term relationship. And through all of that, I started coming at it from a different perspective and discovering things like, and trying them out for myself, like yoga and therapy and all this like hippie woo-woo shit, as I would call it. was like, I've never been very hippie woo-woo, but like I've kind of come around to some of it. I got really into studying like Zen Buddhism and things like that, and meditation, which again, like sometimes I'm so like fast, energetic that it's hard for me to slow down and just chill. But I've sort of reconnected with all of those things and found how useful they can be.
Yeah, that's a great example. What do you absolutely know?
I think that I know that in so many ways I know nothing. And I've thought about this a lot too, because I feel like there's a lot of people that will call themselves experts, and I always hesitate to call myself an expert about anything. And I don't think it's specifically coming from an imposter syndrome, sort of imposter complex thing. I think it's more coming from that sort of like ancient Greek philosopher Socratic way of like, if we think that we know everything, like that's ridiculous. Like there's no way that we can be absolute experts. Like I'm a constant learner. I'm constantly curious. I want to continue to seek to know and understand. And I think that's all that any of us can do, especially when it comes to this kind of work. It's like just trying to figure out and understand other people's perspectives and other ways of being that maybe are not right for us, but then it helps us understand more about the world and other people in it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One of the things similar to that I accidentally said in an interview once, and I'm like, oh, I really love that, is somebody asked me if I was a thought leader. And I said, no, I'm not a thought leader. I just make leaders think.
Yeah, I love that. That's good. That's good.
All right. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure.
Okay. So you picked 3 random numbers, also known as 3 random numbers, from my icebreaker cards. They're either easy, intermediate, or deep. Number 1 is 8, which is, what is the best gift that you have received from someone? And what is the best gift that you have given someone else?
Oh, the best gift. So on the love languages whole profile, like I am not a gift person. So for me, gifts are more experiential. If I either give them or receive them, I don't like stuff. Best gift I've given. So in 2013, my sister and I, we thought that my mom, she had a diagnosis. We thought she was going to go blind. Luckily that stabilized, but we were like freaked out, and we surprised her for Christmas with a trip to Ireland that we went on a few months. Like that was pretty amazing. I have that on video. My mom just like crying about like, oh, we're going to bring you to Ireland. That's the best gift I've given. What's the best gift I've received? I don't know, because I don't like gifts.
Right. Totally good. All right. Number 33 is deep. If you were asked where and how you learned to love, what would you say?
Oh, that is deep. I've learned to love myself a lot more in this last year or so than I did before. And I have always, in a lot of ways, been really self-confident and sort of known who I am in a lot of sort of like surface level ways. But I've definitely gotten to know and love myself in a different, more self-compassionate way in this last year.
Awesome. Great answer. Last one, 23, intermediate. What are some of your hidden talents or abilities?
Hidden talents. Well, I mean, I do drag occasionally. I don't do it often, mostly because I'm lazy about putting makeup on. But I do that sometimes, and I've done a lot of the costumes for it. I'm actually in a couple days performing as Cher from the If I Could Turn Back Time video from the 80s. You might know. I made that costume back in 2004, way before I was doing drag. And then it started to like come out occasionally. And here I am like 15 years later, still sometimes performing as Cher. So
that's awesome. Well, Mallory, if people wanted to get in touch with you to learn more or to possibly watch some of these videos, hint, hint, where would they go?
Well, my website is MalloryWhitfield.com, so that makes it really easy. I've got some clips and full videos of the performances also on my YouTube channel. I'm pretty active on Instagram, semi-active on like Facebook, pretty active on LinkedIn. Just search my name and you'll find me. I've worked in marketing for so long, so I'm like on all the places that I should be pretty searchable.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mallory. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for doing something different for a problem that possibly doing something different may actually develop into a new solution. So thank you.
Thank you.